So I'm getting ready to remove the instrument cluster. I want to inspect things in there before I start putting the console and all of this stuff back together. And I also have a radio that I'm going to be looking at, a used radio tomorrow. It came out of a Corvette. So I found the thing on the marketplace, and I'm going to go see the guy about, maybe getting that radio. He tells me that it works and all of that. And so that is the next step. As far as I can tell here, there's one screw here, another one here, and two more up here. Alrighty, so this is loose now. I was hoping this was going to be easy, but of course nothing really is. I'm going to need both hands. Okay, so I disconnected this thing here, which I don't know if someone's been in here. No. Anyway, this is just for a light, I guess. This came out of that. You have the contacts here on each side. Well, these probably should be all LEDs eventually. And anyway, up at the very top here, there's one of these speed nuts up here that holds the back of the light assembly, and then there's a little screw here which someone replaced. This is a 1/4-inch screw. I don't know why. Everything else seems to be metric. So this is a pretty silly. You see this, the back that kind of slides under this speed nut, and then the other one attaches to this hole here. This one on this side, I believe, is for the little light lens or whatever. This little thing in here with I think the lens is all the way down to the bottom. Pretty intricate little system for, I don't know for what reason. Back here, by the way, it's always a good idea to use something like a towel or a moving blanket or something like that to prevent damage. Back here, and again, I'm gonna need both hands. I have to disconnect all these things, and so that way I can remove the whole pod here. So let me see if I can unhook some of these. I cannot see much in here, but let me see if I remove one of these bulbs. Have a little more room here. There we go. And that's supposed to release here. There we go. Wow. Then we have the other one here, which, how is this? Is this just pushed in here? There we go. So that is that. Let me put this guy back in here for now. Yeah. And that frees up the pod cluster. So I'm going to put this on the bench so we can inspect it properly. Alrighty, what I decided I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug that light for the pod, and then put everything back together on the workbench. So that is easier. And again, I'm gonna need both hands, probably a screwdriver, see how this thing is secured in here, but that'll be just a plug and play kind of deal. Okay, so I have the instrument cluster here on the bench. This is the light assembly that I was mentioning. Just plugs into the harness with this 2-prong plug. Pretty straightforward. Then on the top here where actually this thing fits, and I'll go into more detail later on after I clean everything. We have this reflector plate that sits in there, and we have the ball and the socket. In here, as expected, everything is falling apart, so I may have to take it apart to a certain degree to clean it up, see if there's any way for me to not necessarily restore it, but there's a lot of chipping here around the edges. I did order very thin chrome tape, and I think that would be a good solution for this. Whenever you try to paint this, it never looks right. So I'm going to address that, but first, there's a lot of discoloration here and staining, and just it's an old part basically. And as you can see, there's stains inside or behind the lens. So might as well just take it all apart and have a good look in there and see what needs to be done. Make sure that everything is at least very clean. And again, some of the detail needs to be brought back. Alrighty, so that will be next. Okay, so I believe I have to remove these 4 small screws here, and for this to come apart. And the only tool that I have found that kind of works, because it is pretty tight here between the wall of the pod and the screw, is this 1/4 inch nut driver. This is the only tool that I have that actually fits in here. None of the small sockets that I have will work. Same deal back here. It's a little tight, but this nut driver works well. Yeah, that kind of releases this immediately. There you have all the gauges, a little dirt in there, dust, which is normal. These need to be cleaned and polished, so I will do that next. These are where the lights for the low fuel seat belts and stuff like that go. And then we have these little lenses that, again, see if we can see here, low fuel battery. So that's one of those. And then we have this other one, which is for seat belt and a check engine light, the dreaded check engine light. Then we have this, on one side is a reflector for the instrument lights, the other side is black. So that is, again, super dirty, not a big deal. And then we have the lens itself. And yes, there's some little rubber bumpers that you want to retrieve. Okay, so that part is done. And next I have to address these vents here. These are a little more involved, and I have these little holders and stuff, so I will do those next. I hope you can see this well. I believe these just clasp this. Okay, so yeah, this just kind of pushes in here like so, with a long piece going on the inside, and then you would just kind of slide it in to hold this is one of the vents, and we have another retainer here and one on the other end. Same deal. I'm trying to work in a way so I'm not blocking the camera, which is super difficult, but let's see if we can do it from here. See if I can push it up. That should release also. Yep. There. Yeah, you see it here. It has little barbs that keep it in place. That is a great idea. And I think I need to do this one next. Let's see if pliers will do the trick. I'm gonna take my time. I don't want to start breaking things. Screwdriver and see if there's a way for me to push this side of the retainer. Let's see if we push that in a little bit. I think that's got it. Yep. There we go. Wow. Challenging little thing, and that's why this was kind of being held in place. When I pushed it with the screwdriver, it released. Good to know. Now these things, as far as I can tell, they are identical. Identical. You have these little nubs here at one end, and then you have the other one that acts as a receiver for that, and that is what would keep these two together, yet they work independently. These, by the way, these little vents here, the vanes, are always breaking, so it's not uncommon for these things to be totally busted, but these are in good shape. I'm just going to give them a good wash with hot water and try to address this part where you see all the chrome, quote unquote, paint is missing. Okay, so the only part that I still have to remove is this little, what I call the dome light for the cluster, and I also have to get rid of this old foam strips here. They're just totally gone, and I believe I have some that will work. If not, I'll go to the hardware store and buy the very thin. You can see it here. It's just totally falling apart. So to remove this dome light, as I call it, you have these speed nuts here. You want to be careful because you're dealing with plastic parts here. So we have one out. There's another one here at the bottom. There. And now this one is loose, so we can basically separate this thing. There you have it. Notice the position, because you don't want to try to mount it backwards. This goes in like so, and the little lens here fell off, but it doesn't matter. It still has to be cleaned, and this one just sits here, and I'm probably gonna put a drop of CA glue or something like that just to keep it from doing that. And this basically will act as a diffuser of the light, which probably, I don't know what it, again, you're trying to illuminate the cluster, the HVAC panel. So basically this shell is completely apart. Just want to give it a good bath with hot water. And that is that. Okay, so here's what I did. I used, I think it was 1500 grit paper, and I had to give it a light sanding. I mean, this thing is really, it was really scratched, and some of the dirt was really embedded in there. It was really greasy. So, and also the this little chrome piece was so pitted, I just opted for sanding. Alrighty, well, my little quick project became a restoration of sorts. But sometimes, might as well just give it a shot at looking great. This is such a visible part when you get in the car. If it doesn't work, well, at least I tried. Alright, so that is it for now. I'm going to let it cure for a day at least, and then we'll come back and see what we have to work with.
We interrupt this program with breaking news.
Okay, so I painted the bezel with black paint. Turned out to be too glossy for my taste, and it doesn't look right. So the only thing that I can do to fix this mess that I made is to wet sand it again, and I ordered a can of SEM Landau black paint, which has the right sheen, I believe. And when the sanding is done, I let it dry for at least a day. I'm going to respray it, and hopefully I will have better results. So anyway, I don't want to keep talking about this. I am pretty upset about the whole ordeal. So let me get busy. I'm going to sand it and touch up with some glazing putty, a couple of little spots that I missed, and get it ready for paint yet again. Okay, so the bezel has been wet sanded, and I gave it a very thin layer of glazing putty. So it should be by tomorrow ready to be sanded one last time. Hopefully there'll be no divots, no scratches left. I was really careful and try to address every single little one of those. And it's going to be ready for paint, so hopefully by this weekend I'll have it ready to be put back together and installed back in the car. Okay, so as you can see, I sanded this thing down, and I think I got all the questionable areas taken care of. So I am ready for paint, and I just remember I have to order a radio. I don't have one, so I cannot put it back together until I get one. It's always something. Okay, so I just received the SEM color code. Part number is 15013. I'll provide a link to my Amazon store in case you want to get a can of this stuff. This is really good. It also comes in glossy, but I got the matte finish or satin finish. I already gave this thing a couple of coats because at first I had a negative reaction here with the glazing putty, I guess, but I had to wet sand it yet again, and it's actually turned out pretty nice. I think I'm done. I don't want to keep spraying paint on it just for the heck of it. It's looking really, really nice. I also gave this thing a coat of paint, and I glued this back on. So this one is looking really, really nice and is ready to be reinstalled in here. So I also detailed this dome light assembly, and as you can see, I bought an LED bulb. Actually, I bought a pack of them from Amazon, and again, I'll provide a link to those. But so far, really happy with the results. This is very, very even. This paint dries super fast, so that is always a good thing. And all I have to do, forgive all the noise out there, those crows are just insane. So anyway, all I have left to do here is add the chrome decal, and hopefully that'll look good and it will match the console. As a matter of fact, let me get the console out here. See how. Oh, shut up, damn thing! I'm gonna get a shotgun. Anyway, let me see how the Landau black matches this finish. Let's bring this one in now. This one kind of meets the shifter plate right there, and as you can see, I mean, the transition is just beautiful. And this one is all natural. I think they replaced this plate. Yes, they did, and it's amazing condition, of course. So this is going to look really, really good once it's all put back together. So anyway, I am waiting for the radio, and I'm going to have to trim this part, I believe, because I went with the newer style. I think it looks better, and I wanted to have something affordable that also had the Bluetooth. So that is going to be coming in today. I have a new plate for the shifter pattern, and this is looking really, really, really good. Okay, so before I reinstall the vents, I found this weather stripping material. It's kind of like a foam, rubberized foam, and I think it's going to work just fine. But the adhesive is, I guess, pretty much gone. I'm going to try to reactivate it with a heat gun. Oh, that thing didn't do anything, so let's see if the CA glue is going to be the solution to this problem. Just a few drops, just in case. And then I hope I don't block the camera too much. Yeah, this is not responding very well. I don't know why. Always something. Okay, so I know I am being very picky here. Do you see here? Dark foam. Here, this very light gray foam. So what am I doing to solve that problem? Sharpie. Look at that. You can use any marker really, as long as it's black. should do the trick. Okay, so they're all in place, and let's hope that the CA glue is gonna do its job. Believe it or not, the one that I got from Amazon wasn't really working, so I bought a while back a bunch of these from Harbor Freight, and I know people love to hate on them for whatever reason. This stuff is really good, and didn't even need some of the activator, because really I didn't want to spray stuff in here anymore. So this, I think, is working really well, and I think they're gonna stay put once that really cures in there. At least that is my hope. So here you have one of the vents in place, and I haven't attached the retainers from behind, so this is really just being held in place by the seals that I just installed. So this is going to work really well, because I don't want these things to move all over the place. Really, I want them to stay pretty much put like that, and you can still adjust them a little bit if you want to direct the air. But again, I don't have the retainers in place just yet. But yeah, I think these are gonna stay, in place. And so happy that I used the Sharpie to address that. I mean, it's hardly noticeable, but that's the whole idea, right? So I am getting ready to put these back into the assembly, and I literally have the camera in front of me. I don't know how this is going to work out, but we'll give it a shot. So I'm looking at the bezel from the back. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm going to connect these two and start sliding the vents into place. And again, these seals that I use, they're not factory, so they are maybe a little bit too big, but again, I'm not concerned about that. These things, I'm not going to be resetting them every time. Once these are all the way in, they only go so far. You can start addressing the retainers. This center one, I am going to install it right here. And these, like I already showed you, they have barbs, so they really lock in place. I mean, once that thing is in, they're not going anywhere. Same deal with these here. So here you have a close-up. You can see the barbs. So long piece goes in as far as they will go, and one more here. This one wouldn't go all the way in because of how thick this part is. So, but this is the way that it was. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push it in until it makes contact. And if this sticks up a little bit, so be it. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Here we have the two vents, which, as you can see, they will rotate just enough so you can position them to your liking, and then they will stay put, which is exactly what you want. And here's how you direct, of course, the airflow. So those are in to stay. Again, from back here, you can use a thin screwdriver if necessary. Make sure that the seals are positioned properly, and that's it. One thing I did off camera is I put a couple of drops of CA glue and I secured this reflector here just so it wouldn't keep falling off. So when I'm ready to reinstall the assembly, that will be good to go. Okay, so next I am going to start installing this chrome trim. $10 or $11 for a little roll, but so much better than trying to paint. Okay. And by the way, you want to avoid stretching this thing because that is never a good idea. Just take your time. It's actually sticking very, very nicely. I don't know if it's because of the paint, fresh paint, or just because it's close to 90 degrees in here. And what I like to do at the end here, it's where it meets the shifter plate. I give myself a little bit of extra material and I just follow the contour here and stick it back here, so hopefully it'll keep it in place. Now this is supposed to end right here. So again, you want to get your Sharpie or any type of marker, black marker, and give it a little touch here. It's kind of hard to see, but that should do the trick. You can always come back a little later and touch it up again. But this is really looking nice. Very nice. I don't even think I'm going to have to use the heat gun to activate anything here. This is really adhere really, really well. Now, at the very top here, what you want to do, again, I'm not going to wrap it in here. That would look bad in my opinion. Get yourself a new blade, razor blade, or any kind of utility knife with a sharp blade, and then carefully trim this right here where it's supposed to end. And remove any excess. Tape is actually pretty strong. That's it. Good. And don't forget that there's going to be another piece going across But first I want to do the two sides. Don't ask me why. Alrighty, so I'm gonna show you the finished product. It's really a pain in the neck to be working with the camera right in front of me. It's always a chance for messing up. I don't like to do that. Okay, so it is done. I think it turned out pretty good. I mean, it's not perfect. Wasn't striving for that. Just wanted to look really, really nice. And boy, that fake chrome makes a huge difference, I think. I even touched up the ends here with a black marker. This is again sticking really well, so I don't think it's going to be an issue. The beauty of this is you can get creative. If you have a gray interior and you want to paint this a darker shade or whatever you want to do, like red or blue trim or black trim, you can always get, you know, whatever color you want and do this. Just make sure that it's a 1/16 inch. Very cool. Really happy with it. Okay, if you're a purist, I have to warn you, you're not gonna like this part. However, these panels are available as reproductions, and so this is not the end of the world. As a matter of fact, I don't know if this is an original piece or not, but it doesn't matter. What I'm going to do now is start cutting an opening so I can start installing the new radio, which I have right there. And this big bracket needs to go in here, and I'll show you all the details so it secures the radio in place, which by the way is very, very small. I mean, it's new electronics, so it is tiny and it's light, which is great. So what I'm going to do here first, I'm going to carefully score with a utility knife all these lines that I made in order to have a good guide when I start cutting the plastic. And I'm going to take my time. I don't want to overheat it to prevent any kind of warping or stuff that would look horrible. So again, you've been warned. You can skip to the next chapter if you like. And let me get started. Okay, so I think I'm gonna use the smaller saw for this job. Just kidding. There we go. I use the thin cut-off wheels, even though they tend to break, but we'll see. Again, if this is not your thing, I suggest you fast forward and everything will be fine. The important thing here is to really take your time. And these lines that I scored should help, one hopes. And sometimes also, since you're going to be some of this is going to become waste, you want to practice a little bit. That's always a good idea. You basically want to see how the tool behaves any excess stuff, and you know, see how the thing works. You want to stop every once in a while, check your work, make sure that everything is looking okay. Again, you're melting plastic when you're doing this, so you can see that this is cut through a little bit. And also, may not be a bad idea to either get a very small saw or something like that, do a little bit of work by hand. Another thing is you don't want to really go past your little lines that you drew, because even though the radio has a faceplate, which is forgiving, you know, it'll cover a little bit of any, if it gets away a little bit from you, but there's only so much that this that the cover plate will actually cover, so keep that in mind. And of course the camera is right here next to me, so this is a little bit awkward. Let me try to keep filming this, but I may have to do a lot of editing because I need to do this right. And again, sometimes the size of the cutting wheel will limit how deep you can go in here. So again, just take your time, and I think I'm going to look for some kind of like a little handsaw or something like that. I don't know if this one will work. This is one of those, what do you call those, Japanese saws. And again, you're basically just, see if I can go over the camera here. There. One other thing that I wanted to mention is that I tend to be very conservative when it comes to the trimming that I do. In other words, I'd rather spend extra time with a file and carefully make this the right size than having an opening that's going to be too big. So keep that in mind. Okay, so we're getting pretty close here. If you look at it from behind, you can see there's a couple of areas that could be cut a little bit, either by hand or with the wheel, and that should relieve most of the stress. And some of the stuff I think I'm gonna try to do by hand because there's only so much room in here. And I didn't mention this because I know you guys are already aware of safety and stuff like that, but anytime you're working with power tools, you want to make sure you protect your eyes, and also if you need to use a respirator, gloves, if you can. I can never work properly with wearing gloves, but you do what works for you. Voila. There's one side done. And came right out. Again, I still have to make sure that the frame is going to fit right in there. There's a little bit of a leftover from the knob socket here that can be knocked off with a file. And again, I will use the file to really finish the opening really nice, because again, you want this thing to be snug in there, but you want it to fit right so you can slide the radio in there without any issues. So you're supposed to have 2 of these when you're done. Start with this one. Let's have a moment of silence for all the years of loyal service from this little component. Just kidding. Again, if this is not your thing, well, sorry. Got to do what we have to do, right? Cannot all be driving identical cars. Well, I guess you can if you drive a Tesla, but I don't have anything against them, really. Not my thing, because old school here. So anyway, let me finish this side off camera so I can actually reach in here without bumping into the camera, and I'll show you the progress that I make. And I believe I mentioned these cutting wheels break at some point, so just pressing a little bit, and of course I broke one. So let's get a new one and keep going. Okay, so the deed is done, and I still have to file some of the edges here because they're looking a little bit on the rough side. Had a little mishap there, but I hope the frame and the faceplate are going to hide that little sin. So, and I yet have to figure out if I need to cut this piece off. I think I may have to. But let me set this up on the tripod and let's do a preliminary test fitting of the radio frame. See what it looks like. Yeah, we're gonna have to trim a little more, and that is so much better than trying to add. Don't ask how I learned that. So that is very close, and that's where we want to be. And of course, I don't think a rasp is going to be necessary. That would be way too aggressive. This is really fine though. This one may do the trick. So there it is. This is something that someone recommended online. It really applies to aluminum. But I figured plastic will clog up this file really fast. So it's more of an experiment. Let's have a look and see how this works. Okay, so it is starting to go in, and I think we're going to be okay as far as this middle piece is concerned. I think kind of jets up a little bit past the horizon here, so I still have the Dremel tool out, so I may have to shave it flat here. It's going to be interesting because there are a couple of ribs back here, but again, I just want to knock off the main lip here. Alrighty, I'm going to pause this so I can figure out what I need to do next, and I'll be back in a few. I still have to keep filing here, but I'm almost there. Okay, so I run the Dremel cutting wheel through here, and also cut some of the couple of the ribs back there. Make sure that it's not gonna, there we go, it's not going to be an issue. And I think this is going to help a little bit with the fitment of the frame. And this frame, by the way, doesn't matter which way you fit it in here. It's the same on either side, whether you put it upside down. There's no chance that you're going to put it upside down. I just realized that I'm going to have to eliminate some of this lip here. I don't know how I'm going to do that just yet, but I'll figure something out. Alrighty, so I have the frame in place. I used kind of like a rasp. That trick again with the chalk works wonders, so highly recommend that. Then I used this little sanding block that I made. Got away from me, and I put a couple little scratches, of course, because I'm an idiot and I'm always rushing. So just fit this thing. It'll still go in here, and it does. So this is good. Next, what I'm going to do is, and you can follow, of course, your radio instructions. You want to start bending some of these excuse me, some of these tabs here to secure the frame against the bezel. And there are plenty of, in this case at least, plenty of ways to do that. Okay, so this one is in place. I bent several tabs here to really make sure that this is secure in place. And you can see a couple here, there, down the bottom. And again, you don't have to overdo it. I mean, you want it secured, but again, it's within reason. Everything is within reason.
Anything within reason.
Now the radio can slide in here, and before I do this, I'm going to figure out the wiring and all of that. But these, by the way, and every manufacturer is different. These come with these tools that are in the box. I haven't figured out exactly how you get them in here, but I think there's a way to run them through here, I believe, unless this faceplate yeah, this comes off. It has some spring-loaded mechanism in here, and it locks in place. You can run these here and release the locking mechanism. So again, follow your manufacturer's instructions and you should be good to go. Okay, so the JVC head unit came with this connector and all these wires. Some of them are going to be used, some of them are not. Black one is always going to be your ground, so that's easy enough. The one thing that I wanted to touch on is the fact that sometimes, and this is not uncommon, I'm not criticizing anybody for doing it, what people choose to do is they go into the original car harness and they start clipping wires. Why? Because the terminals from the factory harness are not going to work with the whatever radio you may be using. So yeah, sometimes people just clip, and then they splice wires together and we're done. Well, there is a better solution, and that is a wiring harness adapter. These are really inexpensive. I'll provide a link. There's one on Amazon by Metra, which makes a ton of these products for radios and stuff like that for about $7. I mean, for $7, don't butcher the factory wiring harness. It's absurd. You don't need to do it. Get one of these. What this allows you to do is you can work comfortably on your workbench, make all your necessary connections, and before you reinstall the whole thing is just plug the radio wiring harness to this adapter. You may have to still do one or two separate wires. That is not a big deal. Again, an adapter is the best solution. Buy one from Amazon. You can buy them at Walmart, Crutchfield. There's plenty of companies selling these type of adapters. Again, this one I think is the one made by Metra. Don't quote me on that, but I'll provide a link if you want to go this route. Now, there are several options, as you well know, about connecting things. The radio manufacturers are using the same standardized color coding for speaker wires. Of course, your hot wire is going to be the red, direct to battery is going to be your yellow, and then you have a couple options here. One is for a remote control. We're not going to be using that. And then we have this one, antenna, and antenna control. Well, my antenna is shot, and I would love to have the power antenna, but I'm not going to do that at this time. I am going to wire it though, but I'm going to disconnect the antenna because I don't know the condition. I don't want to get into that, open that can of worms. So, but anyway, what I was talking about is about connecting these wires. You can go the easy route, is just strip the wires, time in a knot, and then put either a twisty cap or just some tape. Not the best solution, but I really like having these solder seal wire connectors. This is a kit, 200 piece kit that I bought from Amazon in different sizes, and like I said, 200 pieces. So with these, all you do is, and the reason I like them is because they're not bulky. You strip your wires, and then, oh, here we go. You get your wires ready, and then basically you slide them into the connector, and with a heat gun you melt the solder, and they also shrink around the wire, so it's a very good and strong connection and a proper connection, so the audio is going to be always clear, and and you're not going to have any issues in that regard. So this is another good thing to have. There are many different manufacturers. I just picked up this one, and I've used them in the past, not the same brand, but this is my suggestion. And let me start putting this whole thing together. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is start stripping some of these wires to have them ready. About 1/4 of an inch, I guess, should be sufficient. Even a touch less. Gonna do the same thing for these. Okay. Of course, I'm doing all the speaker wires first. So I'll start with this purple one. And what you're trying to do is push it in enough so some of the strands are going to be going through the solder here. And this part is going to sort of crimp here. It's going to shrink, and it's going to give you a watertight and a very good, it's going to give you a very good connection. So the solid purple, of course, we have this one here. And for here it's the same deal. Although I have to say this one end, these solder connectors are for whatever reason really, really tight, but be that as it may, I think I can push this one in far enough to make sure we're going to have a very good connection there. Yeah. So next, we start applying heat here until that solder starts melting. And really, that's all there is to this. And there it goes. Very nice. Alrighty, we're gonna keep going. It's pretty boring stuff, so I'll probably just skip through some of this stuff because there's no sense. It's very repetitive. Okay, just a quick update. I wrapped this portion of the connection between the radio plug and the adapter for the car wiring harness. So that is looking good. I do want to run my tester first, once I can find it, to make sure that all my connections are good and working properly. I still have to do one more wire here, and this one, I'll deal with this one later. But so far this is looking really good, and you know, there's only so much I can say about this, and I think I've pretty much covered it all, so I'm gonna stop here with the updates. You get the whole idea. I mean, this is just color matching here, and doing what is necessary to make sure you have good connections between the two connector, or between the connector, radio connector, and the adapter. Good. Yeah, everything is, I already checked the speakers. These are all good. little extra peace of mind. You never know. Yeah, they all check out, so this is good stuff. Alrighty, that way I can sleep. I will sleep well tonight then. Otherwise I'd be out here 3 in the morning. Did I do this right? I don't know if you guys suffer of the same issues, but for whatever reason, I sometimes I don't trust my own work. But anyway, this is the time to do these tests when things are on the workbench. I would hate to start clipping wires again, but this would be the time to do something like that. Not after everything is back in the car and you go, oops.
Now we return you to our regular scheduled program.
Okay guys, so I am going to address the instrument cluster. And to start with, the first thing I want to clarify is one thing that, and I did the same, I took the same approach on my 76, is for the warning lights, I just keep those incandescent. I do not believe it's necessary to use LED bulbs for those. I only use LEDs for the instruments themselves. So with that said, what I'm going to do first is inspect all the incandescent bulbs. They're mainly just kind of have a little dirt, but this one is okay. And I'm going to do this with every single one of these. Then finally I have this one here. And then you want to carefully reinsert them because we're dealing with a flex board here and can get damaged quite easily. Okay, so now for the LEDs, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know if you can see in here, some of these are about ready to be done. They start getting kind of grayish and a little bit foggy inside. This one looks excellent, but the rest look questionable. So they're all going to be replaced. Okay, so set 5. And I have 5 of these LED 194 white interior light bulbs. And these would fit just like the other ones, like so. These go in, by the way, only in a certain way, so make sure you rotate them, and it only takes about an eighth of a turn for them to lock into place, and that is that. Okay, moving on to the other part. I did a little bit of this off camera. I just took a very soft brush and I removed this portion and I cleaned in here to the best of my ability. No chemicals, just the brush, and see a couple of spots there. I'm using this, whatever it is, makeup brush. I don't know. Years ago, my ex-wife, she was looking for hers. I told her I have no idea what happened to it. So that's my story.
You bastard!
Anyway, okay. So that part is done. Same thing here, just to remove any dust or any particles left. And so to reinstall the lens, you want to install it here. And don't forget the little rubber bumpers and make sure that this one is installed properly because it has a bevel and you want that facing toward the driver. There. Yes. They're pretty decent. I mean, there's still some cloudiness. I mean, it's a 40-plus-year-old piece, so what are you going to do? There are, as far as I can tell, 3 locating guides here. And of course, this one would sit right on top of that, helping it stay in place. Nice. And then we have the instruments themselves.
Did you see that? Did anyone see that?
All right, I'm going to speed up the process here. I'll explain in a second. Those of you who notice what I was doing, probably cracking up, feeling bad for me, or just making fun of me. That's okay. I understand. We all make mistakes. So, with that out of the way, this one, it's kind of, everything is very ingenious. This one has a little channel here that goes only in that spot. This one, on the other hand, does not, but you cannot install it. I guess you could install it the other way. And this is actually how it goes. Otherwise, it wouldn't be centered properly between the 2 indicator lights. Okay. So with that properly installed now, hey, I forget things, okay? But you know, I'd rather show you. We're only human, right? So you have to look at it this way. If this guy can do this, so can I. That is the whole point, my friends. That is the whole idea. You know, with the editing software, it would be real easy for me to just leave things completely out. You would never know what happened, but that is not the point. I've never claimed to be an expert. Okay. So now, this sucker is done properly now with these little lights in place, or the lenses, whatever. Okay. Next, I believe I'm going to go ahead and install the dome light apparatus here. So let's do that next. Here's the little lens. Again, I put a drop of CA glue, and I believe this one only goes one way. Yep. So like So there's a longer piece, or longer part of it, that points toward the front, and it slides right in. Then we have one of these speed nuts that connects to the one of the posts. These can be a little bit tricky. That's not the right size. Not a big deal. You just want to make sure that you do not apply too much force because you're dealing with plastic parts here. So I'm going to do that one. Just get them started. Secure this one. I do have the LED bulb in this one because I want a good light toward the HVAC panel. Okay, so just this one. You can just slide the rear portion. Has an opening for that, and then this one sits right here next to the speed nut. Make sure that it's tight, but again, we don't want to overdo it. Just make it snug enough. And then we have this one, and where's the little, there's a little screw. Where did I put it? Okay, so after about 10 minutes searching, I found this similar looking 1/4-inch screw as they had in it, and that is in there now. And now I want to finish tightening this one a little bit. Okay, again, being very careful not to break any plastic pieces. So now we have this little dome light thingy installed. We have the gauges and these lenses also installed. And this part is getting very close to being ready. I hope I'm not forgetting any other parts. As I just mentioned, it happens. But anyway, this is looking good. So next is going to be installing the radio and starting installation of the whole assembly back in the car.
Shall I bring in the pièce de résistance?
Okay, so next I have to pop this bad boy in. It's gonna look really, really cool in here. And all you have to do really is just gonna drop it in place and push it all the way in until it locks. And that is that. Very easy. And it looks fantastic. It really complements the whole design. I really like it. So, and from behind you can see it is a very short unit, which is great. The original one was probably yay big. So modern units have so many more features, and they are light and small. So that's that part. Okay, so I am going to make sure that everything is going to connect properly. And this is the connector that I've been talking about. I separated this area here into two sections, and these are only for speakers. Now, I printed a pretty bad sheet of paper with instructions here as to what wire does what as far as the speakers are concerned. Let's see, starting with this one where you see this mess of green, dark green, tan, and grayish or light tan. It's actually gray. That, according to the diagram that I have, that is for these are for the light green and dark green are for the right front speaker. The tan and the gray are the left speaker, also for the front. So this one plugs right into this receptacle here, right in the middle. Okay. Then we have, what do we have here? Okay. Brown and yellow, light blue and dark blue. Brown and yellow, left rear speaker, light blue and dark blue are for the right rear speaker. Okay, good. So that would go like this right here. And then we have yellow, gray, another yellow, I think, or light beige and black. So black here, yellow and gray, these three here, are for the power for the radio. Now there's this light yellow or cream color wire. I don't see anything that even comes remote close to mentioning that. So here we have the connector, and you have black, yellow, and gray. But anyway, sometimes it doesn't mean that everything is used, but anyway, so this is how the wiring harness is now connected to the plug that goes into my JVC radio. There are a couple of things that I'm not going to be using for the time being anyway. Well, one I cannot use. One is for the steering wheel remote control or something like that. The other one is for the power antenna. That is still a big question mark there. But I still have to also connect this one to constant 12 volts. But I'm going to deal with that a little later. And but for the time being, this is a step in the right direction, and I will. This will allow me to start installing things. Okay, so one last thing regarding radio wiring. There is this connector here. I read the wiring diagram a little better, and this is for the what they call the ETR radio, or electronically tuned radio. This car did not have an analog clock, so the radio had that, and that gave me the idea, well, I need a power source for my new JVC radio for memory and stuff like that, and there is this wire already in here. It's probably fused and all of that, so you know that would make things a lot easier for me. So I kind of reconnected the battery. Here's my my test light, and let's see if this one has any juice. I'm here connected to the brown one. Nothing. And everything is shut off, of course. Just I'm looking for a constant 12 volt, and there it is. So this one would work in my case here. And what I'm going to do then is I don't know if someone already has been in here, probably. And I'm going to remove this. This doesn't look factory to me. So I'm going to see what they did. Maybe someone tapped into this wire, and frankly, I want to do the same thing. And then that would give me my constant 12 volts for this wire here, which I don't even need it this long anymore, but that would be great. Everything would be within the same harness. So oh yeah, someone has been in here before. I'll find out. Oh yeah. Yeah, someone was tapping into this, I'm sure. Yep. Wow, this is pretty bad. This is pretty crappy. Wow. I have to fix that now. Okay, so this was my solution for this 5-minute project that took 30. I saved the brown wire here with the terminal. I saved part of this was already pre-cut. So my solution was to connect the yellow one from the JVC radio terminal directly with the orange wire that I know it's a constant 12 volt. So that is going to keep, memory stations and all of that for the radio, which is great. This one I saved, and it could be eventually reused for a standard radio if anybody wanted to do something like that. Not me. And this is, of course, the leftover of the original orange wire. You see a little bit of it there. I just insulated this nicely, so there's not going to be any issues, and it's going to be there for the next person. So, that's my latest update, and so this is ready pretty much for me to start installing the this console bezel, the whole shebang, finally. Okay, so that went in. I'm sorry I don't have any other way of filming this for you guys. So, sorry. Okay, that is plugged also. I guess I could go ahead and plug the antenna. Okay, that was easy. Then we have one connector for the radio. So that is simple enough. If I can figure out how this one plugs in, I think it goes in like this. Yep. Oh wow. Click. Okay, then we have this connector for the little dome light. So this is a lot easier with just the one big plug for all the instruments and stuff like that. makes life a lot easier. This is going to be fun. There, I think. Okay, that is a little closer to where it needs to be, but this is kind of challenging when you're working all alone here. Let's see what these screws were for. Okay. It's so hot in this garage. Okay. Wow. That's in place.
Seasoned beef patties, double cheese, and loads of fresh toppings. Actually, you know what? I'm going with the BOGO. Add a second Big Buford. Buck more. Whatever you order, own it at Checkers. Now half off.
Okay, so before I get too excited and carried away about the success of reinstalling the instrument cluster, let's see if this thing has any lights. Okay. Yes. And they can be dimmed. Oh, I had no idea this was even possible. Wow. That looks actually pretty cool. And oh, for the radio, would have to have the ignition on. Kill the battery. And it's blue, so I love it. So that is great. Let's see if the memory. Okay. Let's kill that for a second. Okay. Wow. This is very cool. At least it's working, you know. But look at that. That is awesome.